hang on, I remember him saying something. Is this Edge's last match? After he walked out, the ovation that he got, his family all in the front row, boy, it sure felt like Edge's last match to me. Our first week of multiple shows, and man, there's still plenty of stuff to talk about here this weekend. Welcome to the WrestleChat Podcast, my friends. I'm your host, the Ant-Man, Michael Glavin, back to talk some wrestling. And in a week where we saw All In surpass 80,000 tickets, WWE nearly, if not already, sold out 2 nights at Lincoln Financial Field in Philly for WrestleMania 40. We're then brought back down to earth with the thought of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre death match this week. How do you balance that juxtaposition with those parameters right there?
It's interesting. It's an interesting equation to put together. I'm excited, in the heat of the wrestling season, and you've got All In sitting almost exactly opposite in the year of WrestleMania. It'll be interesting to see the smack talk that goes between the two. You have AEW saying, hey, we completely sold out Wembley Stadium, however, 80, 90,000 something seats. But then you've got WWE coming in saying, well, but did you sell out Lincoln Field twice?
2 nights.
Yeah. And so two nights in a row. And so it's going to be fun to see these things clash. But interesting week indeed, with massive record-breaking ticket sales and Leatherface.
And Leatherface, yes. I will say that I did read that they made like something north of $100,000 because it was a promotion for a new video game called Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Made $100,000 on it, and Tony donated it all to the Maui Food Bank, which I think is just amazing. And again, tonight on Collision, Fight for the Fallen continues, and all of that money being raised there, and we'll all go there as well to the Maui Food Bank and supporting the efforts there in Hawaii. Love that. Before we move too much further down the trail of pro wrestling this week, what's going on the latest episode of the Man-Child Chronicles?
Oh, well, yet another fun week. I would say there's not a week that we don't have fun.
Sure.
This is probably going to be the most coy I will ever be with an episode setup.
Okay.
And it's on the thumbnail. You can't miss it. But one of the guys tells a story about losing $150,000.
Yikes.
And so that's all you're going to get for the preview this week. But if you want to hear a story about somebody losing 150 G's, tune into the Man-Child Chronicles this week. It got put up yesterday.
Okay.
It's available right now. Go watch it. I promise you won't regret it.
Well, here where you're watching this episode, there on YouTube, go check out the other channels that we love section, and you'll find the Man-Child Chronicles there. Click on it and hit subscribe. It's been a hot minute since we've had a superstar in trouble with the law, at least publicly, but evidently an incident went down with Cash Wheeler. He's one half of the AEW Tag Team Champions FTR. Allegedly, there was a road rage incident where Cash is being accused of waving a firearm. This all went down in Florida, where Cash has a residence. His attorneys appeared on his behalf at the initial hearing. There was concern that this would inhibit his travel to London for All In coming up next week. However, according to Fightful, there were no travel restrictions put on him. MG, you run AEW. You're Tony Khan. What's your first thought, and how do you proceed with a situation like this one? Because it's not just an employee. It's not just a talent on your roster. This is one of your champions.
It is sticky, and I'm grateful to not be in TK's shoes.
Sure.
Speaking as a dad, which, this isn't family, this is business. I realize that, but it's like, man, like, there can be forgiveness, but that doesn't always mean that you're void of consequences. Yep. And so I think it's an interesting position to put in. The only thing that AEW has going for them is that they're more of the their product doesn't necessarily cater to younger age as much as, say, WWE does.
Yeah.
And so I think there's more rope for potential lack of repercussions based on the adult environment. But at the same time, I think when you're going to employ people and you make good money and you're, the face of a company, I think you have to, in some way, say like, hey, this isn't okay, and self-control means something. So while I'm glad I don't have to make the decision, I guess we're just going to have to wait and find out what does or does not happen.
It's never easy being the boss. That's for sure. Chime in, share your thoughts too. All of our conversations always include you. You can comment on this video. You can follow and connect with us on Instagram or X or on Facebook. Wherever you are, we're there too. So connect with us and join in on the chat. Staying on the AEW train for a moment, 1 week from tomorrow, AEW is taking over London's Wembley Stadium for All In. Presumably, AEW hopes to make this event their WrestleMania event. At least it looks that way when it comes to scale, that's for sure. Here's a couple of the matches that we know so far. Better Than You, Baby, MJF and Adam Cole are going to team up to take on the Ring of Honor Tag Champs Aussie Open in their pre-show that they call the 0 Hour. And then, of course, we're going to see Mr. Freeman and Mr. Cole go head-to-head in the main event for the AEW Championship. But we're also going to see the real world champ, according to him, CM Punk, take on Samoa Joe. What I'm interested in here is to see if there's some way that these stories can overlap. They're bound to at some point. Harkening back to our conversation last week on the podcast, MJF has yet to really address CM Punk and his claims of being the real world champ yet. Do you see that being addressed or challenged at all here at All In?
I hope so. I mean, it's a little bit of a bizarre scenario. What I'm assuming is going to have Punk coming to the ring wearing a world title, fighting at the biggest pay-per-view that will have ever existed in AEW, but not defending said title. And then the whole factor with MJF, and it's a strange situation. But what I'm hoping is it's a slingshot type moment where we've spent a lot of time pulling back, and then All In will be, the fling forward moment that brings these stories clashing together. I don't know, but we're gonna find out.
I hope so too. We've got one of the ages when Jericho takes on Will Ospreay. Will, being the hometown hero over there in London, would you be surprised to hear the Ocho come out to some resounding boos for this match?
Chris Jericho's been around for long enough. I mean, I think there's always people booing him and always people cheering him.
Right.
And so, no, it wouldn't surprise me at all, but I actually think it'll be a pretty split crowd. I think it'll be hard to discern faces and heels in that scenario just because you've got two real icons, going against each other. So it'll be interesting to see where the crowd lies.
Swerve Strickland, AR Fox, they're teaming up to try and bury Sting and Darby Allin in a coffin match. There's been a lot of discussion, including Eric Bischoff, that thinks that this should be Sting's last match. Go out in front of the biggest crowd that he's ever performed in front of. What say you?
That's tough. I mean, I think Mark Calloway has trained us that get out while the getting's good. But at the same time, Sting had a very, very different career than The Undertaker did. Sting's working style is a lot less taxing than The Undertaker's ever was. While Sting is getting up there, by all means, if Ric Flair can wrestle a match at the age of 123, who's to say Sting doesn't have, a handful of matches a year left for the next couple of years. But, I mean, for heaven's sakes, the guy wears a full bodysuit that's padded. I mean, how much trouble can he really get into?
That's true.
And so I think, in all fairness, it's up to him when to hang it up. His career has been built on great decisions time and time again. I don't think there's any reason to start doubting him now.
Sting stole my gimmick. That would have been my gimmick if I was in wrestling. Just pads. Oh,
Yep.
We're padded. We're a padded seat.
Pads everywhere.
That right there is barely half of the matches so far. I don't even think it's half. Next week here on the show, though, we're going to run them all down and give you our predictions for AEW All In. Make sure to let us know what you're looking forward to most for All In. Comment on this video and make sure you join in on the chat. Let's shift some focus over to another huge stadium show, selling out, if not practically, or if not realistically, practically, before any matches are announced on this one. That's WWE's WrestleMania 40. If it's not completely sold out yet, I know that right now, if there are any seats, you could just go, okay, there's that many left, because it's just blue dots scattered here and there. They're mostly all of them are the high dollar seats too, and none of them are really cheap this year. That's for sure. That's why they broke the all-time 1 day. Actually, what they sold for the entire year last year at WrestleMania, they broke that amount in 1 day for on sale yesterday for WrestleMania 40. It is absolutely incredible. This is a great example of WrestleMania truly becoming the Super Bowl, because people buy Super Bowl tickets simply to be a part of the experience, not because of who's actually playing in the game. Same here, especially with it being this milestone. I mean, WrestleMania is technically over the hill with this one. 40 is a big one for WrestleMania. While it's been repeated time and time again by many that right now may be the hottest pro wrestling has ever been, does it still just kind of make you go, man, I can't believe it was that fast for WrestleMania 40 to sell this many tickets?
Not at all. I think we've seen a very organic resurgence of sports entertainment. And I think it's a credit to all players involved. I think that AEW and WWE have fed into each other, because now you're able to not just have one thing and complain about what's not there. You're able to be a fan in both places and get all of your needs met. Am I describing a marriage here? I don't know what I'm describing. But you're able to get all of your needs met, from all these different, these different venues. And so, what's the phrase? Rising tides rise all ships, or something like that. Raise all ships. And so I feel like that's what's happening in pro wrestling right now. Great for WWE, great for AEW. Does not surprise me one bit. I think people are anticipating another huge main event this next year. Obviously, we all have a great guess of what that's going to be. And quite frankly, if I didn't have to put food in the mouths of 4 young kids and shoes and all that type of thing, I would want to be a part of it just the same. But, you can bet your bottom dollar that I'm going to buy some merch. I'm going to be tuning in that night, both nights, to really partake in it. Same thing with All In. We're at just such a wonderful time in professional wrestling sports entertainment right now. None of this surprises me one bit, and I hope this is just the start of a great wave of what's to come.
Yeah, same here. Drop a comment on this video if you jumped in and you scored your WrestleMania 40 tickets. We want to hear from you if you landed your seats for next April in Philly. That's going to be an exciting time. Speaking of exciting times, man, SmackDown was hot last night for a couple of reasons. One of them, no surprise, is Edge, which we'll end with him. But the other one that's not really a surprise now anymore either, and that's LA Knight. Yeah, because it was a surprise that he came out during the segment that he came out in. I thought, well, maybe he'll have a match somewhere and get a big pop from the crowd, sell a few more t-shirts, still be number one, all that kind of stuff. We'll hear him talk on the mic. It'll be great. It's kind of like when Stone Cold didn't have anything, but he still came out like, well, I don't care what he does as long as he comes out here, kicks somebody's ass, flips everybody off, and drinks a beer, we'll be good. And that's almost the place where we are with LA Knight. Not really care what he does as long as he has a mic when he comes out. He did have a mic when he came out, and it looked like that he was going to get involved in this U.S. title, the picture that's going on right now with LWO and Austin Theory, who lost the title, all this mess. But then when the match started, we heard the music just before the bell rang, or right after the bell rang, maybe. But it was, you hear awesome ring out, and of course, who do we get? Yeah, we get The Miz. We get The Miz walking out and becoming the distraction the entire match. I do like that they're doing this feud, and that The Miz is costing LA Knight something. I'm not really sure that I love that it cost him the U.S. title. Maybe just his match in general could have been enough to mess with. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this whole, I wouldn't say debacle, but the position that they're putting LA Knight in at the moment?
I think they're trying to capitalize while also realizing the fragile nature of what it is. He's hot right now. They don't want to ruin it. They don't want to, have a payoff be too quickly. I'll be honest with you. I texted you during the show and I said, you know what? I don't like the U.S. title on LA Knight. No offense to anybody that's held it. I think for where he's at, popularity right now, I think it's a little bit beneath him. But at the same time, we also have to give respect and due to where some of these other storylines are. Is LA Knight the guy to beat Gunther? No, he's not. Not because of popularity or skill or anything like that, but there's things we have to do with Gunther that have to remain. Okay, and is he ready for a world title? Probably not. So it's a precarious position to be in because we got to put him somewhere, and he's got to do something. And so the U.S. title seems like a great stop, but it doesn't seem like that's where it's going to be either. And so it's an interesting scenario for him to be in, and I'm excited to see where they decide to squeeze him in. To be honest, I think when we figure out what's going on with Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, Shinsuke Nakamura, whatever, I think I think actually the World Heavyweight Championship would be a great spot for LA Knight.
That could be good, yeah. Some
may disagree, but yeah, that's where I'd like to see him.
You mentioned about the Intercontinental title. I feel like that you've got the Universal being what it is with Roman. You've kind of got the stigma of the world title now being a secondary title. Some of that stink has fallen off of that with the feud they've got going on right now. They've really elevated the Intercontinental title with Gunther, and he's getting ready to pass Honky Tonk Man. So I wonder if the thought is not, well, LA Knight is hot. Why don't we, Austin Theory didn't really do that great of a job, and not necessarily because of him. Not the blame necessarily goes all on Austin Theory. But I wonder if they're not going, he's really hot, and we'd like to elevate that title. So you maybe put the title on, the U.S. title on LA Knight to then make the title, not make the man. The man's already there. That could be a thought there. I'm not sure. But again, just like on everything else we've talked about here on this show, chime in. Let us know what you think about LA Knight, the U.S. title, the chase there, where he should be in the card. Now, I know that if you're a diehard LA Knight fan, you think he should beat Roman Reigns. He should be the one to do it. But you also, thinking about kind of the longevity, let's talk about a realistic rise here. Is the U.S. title something for him? Chime in here and let us know what you think. Comment on this video. Man, a lot of buzz, a lot of talk back a few months ago when Edge said that, I think I'm kind of winding things down and I'd like to do it in my home. And then we heard nothing for the longest time. In fact, all the way until last week when he finally comes out and says, you know what, I'd like to have a match, and I would like to have it with Sheamus. What? Where did this come from? It seems so out of the blue, and the build throughout the week this week has felt like, hang on, I remember him saying something. Is this Edge's last match? After he walked out, the ovation that he got, his family all in the front row, boy, it sure felt like Edge's last match to me. What about you?
I'm going to call this the Mark Henry pink blazer situation.
A little swerve here.
Yeah, I don't think that he's got to go out holding a title by any means. That's not what I'm saying. But I think that he deserves something a little more than going out on a Friday night SmackDown. I think there's other boxes to be checked. If this is it, great. I'm not upset. We got more Edge than we ever thought we were going to,
for sure,
based on his health and all that type of thing. So don't hear me being unthankful of what we've gotten out of him. But it would seem like for someone who spent such a long time at the top of the mountain that this is how and when he would choose for that to go down. No one's really going to know. I don't feel like there was enough press to really lean into the fact that that was it. I feel like that I don't think anybody backstage would have allowed him to go out that quietly. I feel like there would have been some special element, you know, even all the way down from Vince remotely, like, hey, you know, confetti, or, you know, everybody coming down the ramp, or, you know, this, you know, something.
Edge must pose.
Exactly, you know, for the benefit of those with flash photography.
Yes.
But I feel like it was just a little too quiet and simple for a guy who has just been so electric in his entire career. So time will tell, but for me, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it for a minute.
Unless he has plans next weekend. Never say never.
Who knows?
Never say never.
Never say never.
Let us know what you think. Chime in on this video. Let us know what you think about Edge's possible last match. What do you think might be next for him, if anything? If what's next for him is going back home and living in Asheville, North Carolina, I would say that's probably pretty great too. So thank you guys so much for hanging with us again here on this week on the WrestleChat Podcast. Quick reminder, we just launched 3 new shows. Every Tuesday, Michael and I break down a Raw on the Raw Review. On Wednesday, it's Let Me Talk to You. Some fun interviews coming up on that podcast. Can't wait to share those. On Thursday, we'll break down AEW's flagship in the Dynamite Dissection. I hope you'll join us for one or all of those. And they're all right here on WrestleChat TV. So for Michael Glavin, I'm the Ant-Man, and we'll see you on Tuesday for the Raw Review right here on WrestleChat TV.